Thank you for joining me on this interview with Deanne Matley. We're going to be just going over about the next 20-30 minutes, having a little conversation with Deanne, getting to know her a little bit better. And at the end of this, you'll find out a little bit more about her, who she is, and what her goals are for the next 5 to 10 years. So Deanne, just to kind of get started right away, why don't you tell us a little bit about why you got started in music?
Well, actually, it's kind of funny because I was telling somebody the other day I never actually thought I'd be doing music full time. So for the last 5 years, I just decided to take the plunge and decided to do music full time.
Okay.
And that's just, it's my passion. And now people are like, so you need to get a hobby. I'm like,
So music can't be your hobby now.
Music is not I don't know if it ever was my hobby, but now I need a hobby because my passion is my job, which,
right.
Most people are probably like, oh, that's awesome when you get to do what you love, for your job. But it also has its challenges too.
Absolutely. Now, what would you say is your first memory of being in music or doing music? Is there any story you can share with us to let us know a little bit about your first memory?
Well, I share this story quite a bit, although I don't think I actually have a memory of it. Someone has just told me about the memory about when I was little, and just, singing while my dad played guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, so since I was like 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's been very impactful. So your parents had something to play with that in the role of you pursuing a music career, would you say?
Well, I think it allowed me to discover that I love music. Like I said, I naturally gravitated to choir on my own. Like my parents weren't, telling me to go do these things. I just found them on my own, which was really exciting. And I
Excellent.
just, fell in love, so.
Nice. So I know, when we all grow up, we're typically, we enjoy different music, we enjoy different genres of music. Now, is there somebody who inspired you when you were younger from the past? And maybe is there somebody who inspires you today, maybe that's not necessarily from the past?
Well, I think, I've always listened to music. Music's always on. Like if I'm around at home, music's on. I'm in the car, music's on. As far as inspiration goes right now, I'm listening to, I just did a Stevie Wonder show, so Stevie Wonder inspires me, or I'm listening to Oasis, or now I'm, getting into Imagine Dragons, and just having their music inspire me to write, to create, to take tunes of theirs and make really cool arrangements of them,
Right. Because you do make it your own personal, when you listen to it, you've made it your own, you've kind of put your own fine tuning to it, you've found a way to make it you, and not, just Stevie Wonder or Oasis or whoever.
Yeah, I'm never going to be a tribute band. And not that there's anything wrong with that. Those are cool. They serve a purpose. But when I did the Stevie Wonder show, they were all original arrangements of Stevie tunes, and the audience really loved them because they were different and unique, and so just puts a new spin. Actually, somebody said to me after the concert that he discovered a new love for Stevie Wonder after seeing the show.
Right. Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool?
That's kind of neat. So you can really change people's perspectives of what they used to like versus what they like now.
Exactly. Where they over-listened, back in, a lot of the tunes are from the 70s. So they were like over-listened, and then, it's kind of bringing it back in with a new, fresh kind of vibe to it, so.
Right, and especially with the different crowds that come to the shows, right? A lot of people have not experienced Stevie Wonder's music, and a lot of people who are younger going out to these shows have a chance to now listen to Stevie Wonder or some of the other people that you sing songs about, and now they're able to enjoy that music from kind of just a different perspective as well.
Absolutely, and it's fun for me as a performer to create that inspiration. For people to rediscover their passion for a certain artist, or and so when I get those kind of feedback, it makes me feel good.
Right on. So what would you say that makes you what makes you different than some of the other musicians that are out there kind of doing what you're doing?
Well, the beautiful thing about being an artist in any kind of field is that we're all unique.
Absolutely.
right? We all have our unique gifts, our unique takes. So I don't really know about the question about what am I doing differently, because, you know, I think as a big community, we're all doing something for the greater good, and that's for the love of music. For me, my focus is just making sure that I'm being unique and authentic and showing up in my performance and showing up in my music, and making sure that I'm continually being inspired.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes the inspiration can kind of go to the wayside a little bit, and then it stops being fun for me. So that's my goal always, is to always be inspired to create, because creating is what I love doing the most. Creating and performing.
Right. So when you're creating, like, what inspires you to continually create something that's different than what's already being done, I guess?
Well, I think it's like, for example, when I did the Stevie Wonder concept, it was about, I was inspired because I saw a 17-piece orchestra do some Stevie Wonder stuff when I was in France. And then I went, oh, wow. And it instantly inspired me to create 10 new tunes into the pad. Yeah, right? But I was like, but I had a show. So it's like, I'm going to do the show, so I've got this amount of time to get ready and prepped for it. And man, John and I, we had so much fun, like, working on the arrangements. And we would just be sitting there, and all of a sudden I'm like, yes, this is how this feel needs to go. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, this is great.
Right.
Like, this is the fun part. So, yeah, I'm kind of, did I go off topic?
No. I think you're just being generally yourself, right? And that's kind of the idea of this interview, is just let people really know who you are, and your personality. And we all kind of talk in tangents, so it's kind of a nice thing sometimes I kind of try to get back on track a little bit. But can you tell me about, I guess, some of your most memorable experiences as a musician? Maybe one or two experiences that you can tell the listening audience here about what made that so memorable for you and why it connected to you so well.
Well, shoot. Most recently, I was just in France doing a music festival, Nuit de Serenade, and I was asked to sing Besame Mucho, and so there I am up on the stage in front of a whole bunch of French people and actually English people as well, people from all over the world. And one of the beautiful things was that I could communicate in both languages, which I really loved. But I sang Besame Mucho, and there's this wonderful woman who was from the state of Georgia. She came up and she said, your voice just transcended right into my soul.
Wow.
And she just like had tears in her eyes. She was just so, like, you have no idea how that made me feel, and how you sang that, and and I was just a little bit overwhelmed with her response, because sometimes I get up on stage and I do my thing, and maybe sometimes I walk off and be like, that could have been better, but when I receive that feedback from someone, I mean, that is like why I get reminded of why I do this. Right. So that just recently happened, and I think one of the best parts about when I went and studied at Berkeley for a summer, and that transcended me in so many ways, because I was surrounded by so many amazing mentors and fellow musicians and friends, and my love tank was so full, and I was completely my authentic self. I came home like I was on a pink cloud. And that was when I met one of my mentors, and he inspired me to record my very first album.
Right on.
So that to me is an experience that really helped me move forward as a musician.
Right. I think the two things that are similar in the story is you were able to, one, make an emotional connection to somebody else with your music, but in the same way, the music was actually making an emotional connection with yourself, right? And I think that's a lot of things that people enjoy about music, is the emotional connection that it can make to one another, right?
Absolutely. Well, I think that's what music does for people. I know for me, whenever I'm going through a breakup or I need to get pumped up, or I just want to have really good energy, I put music on because I feel better.
Right, feeds the soul.
It feeds my soul, and I think one of the things that's my gift as a musician is that heart connection. So there's something about me that transcends and reaches hearts.
Right.
And I don't get up on stage and think, okay, I'm going to do this today. I'm going to reach a bunch of hearts. I just show up and do my thing. And that because I have no control what happens out in the audience, right? So that is what keeps me doing what I do.
Right. So just to kind of, so I understand as well, so as the person's listening right now and watching this video, you're able to connect to people, and you don't necessarily know who you're going to connect to. And when the people come up to you and tell you, I mean, that just continues. The reason you continue is because you now understand that that's the best thing to do. You can keep connecting, you can keep changing people's lives, and not necessarily is everybody going to come tell you, but you know those people are out there, and through your music, you're doing it.
Well, a really perfect example was I was doing a gig last week, and this couple came, and they were listening to my music before they came to see me do a live gig, and the gentleman was telling me how much he loved my tune Steel and Blue. And I mean, that's my very first tune I wrote 5 years ago. And he sat there and told me how he cried. And he's just like, oh my God. And I was just I was surprised because I don't know about other artists, but I can only speak for myself. But I sometimes write music or I perform music, and I'm like, oh, that you really had that kind of a connection with that song. And I forget that. Just because maybe I'm that was one of my first songs, and it's not so great or whatever. I was just so blown away, and I was like, Steel and Blue? And he's like, yeah, the words. I was listening to the words, and I just had to cry, and I was just like, wow, thank you for telling me, because I kind of even forgot about that song.
Right. Well, it's interesting when people tell you, you kind of start remembering again why you had that reason of writing those words down as well, right? Because they obviously connected with you, and then there's obviously other people out there that also are going to connect to your words.
Absolutely. Oh, and I know for sure for this next album, the tunes that I wrote, people are going to connect.
Right on. So that worked into perfect transition for where I wanted to go next. Anyways, I know that you're working on your next album because I loved, and during summer you had an opportunity to do a little crowdfunding. So a lot of people watching this video knew a little bit about what you did, and could you tell us a little bit about how that campaign went for you, and maybe some of the some of how you felt while you're doing that campaign? Because it's nice to know a lot of people can be successful when they have the campaign. Some people are not successful, and that's okay as well. But no one really ever gets to find out about some of the ups and downs, some of the challenges that people go through when they have those type of campaigns. So I'd love to hear a little bit about what you went through, during that campaign, some of the emotions you had, and some of the things that you went through.
Wow. Well, Frig, it was such an uncomfortable thing to do.
Okay.
Putting myself out there and asking for money.
Right.
Now,
it's not easy to do.
It's
Absolutely.
not. No, it's not easy. And and the reality is that it's a very common thing nowadays. So people understand what crowdfunding was. When I did a crowdfunding campaign 5 years ago for my first album, and the concept was still kind of new, so people were still really like, "What's going on?" But now it's more of a kind of expected thing. But for me, being someone who yes, I'm a performer and I love being on stage and on and off stage. I love connecting with people, but then to force myself to do videos and send emails once a week, because then I'm just oh my God, I don't want to piss anybody off, and I don't want all this stuff came up for me that really challenged what I was doing, because I care, right? But what happened is I realized that there are people out there that want to support what I do.
Yeah.
because they also knew that they're also supporting me in my music and my bigger vision, and also helping with my grant, which helps young musicians, you know, so it's kind of like a twofold, but also allowing people to support me is really big, because there are people out there that want to, and really getting that people believe in me, and that I had to like really allow myself to take in. It's like, you know, when I get compliments, right, it's like I've had to learn to just say thank you.
Right.
You know, as opposed to, oh, well, no, and, you know, it was okay, you know, like that I've had to start to learn to do. And it's about allowing it to come in and having gratitude. So with the campaign, though, what I loved about it is that when people donated, they're getting also something in return. Not only were they, you know, supporting me and knowing that they get to be a bigger picture of this project, but they're also going to get my full discography, and they're going to get, you know, personal poem, and they're going to get, you know, like all these. That made me feel really good about that.
Right on. And it's kind of nice to see that people are willing to support you, because not only when they support you, you support others.
Absolutely.
So in return, you know, it's being the support is going down, you know, down the line, and other people are also being supported, and not just the artists themselves and people who are listening to the music, but also the different musicians that have to come in and be a part of the process as well. And these people's visions are also being, you know, supported through your vision of making this album, and through their generous donations towards the campaign. Right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I never really thought about it, but by supporting me, they're supporting other musicians who are on the album, because then I'm paying them, which is supporting, you know, contributing to their livelihood as full-time musicians. They're supporting, you know, another engineer. You know, it's yeah, you're right. Like it's economy. It's supporting not just me. It's supporting other artists.
Yeah, it's a full circle.
It's a full circle. So thank you for that, because I didn't even think about it in that sense. But that's a truth, and
Absolutely.
It's gonna, you know, support my designer, you know, when he does the CD, and my sister who's going to do the photography, and, you know, so it's supporting a bunch of entrepreneurs, really.
Yeah, that's right, and it supports the other person. You know, you have somebody that's going to be playing guitar on your album now. Somebody hears your album, hears this person playing guitar.
Yeah.
So I really like the way this person plays. Maybe I need them for my own album.
Exactly.
And you never know where those opportunities can go for other people, all because someone was willing to, you know, support your campaign and your crowdfunding, right? So it's kind of an interesting way that things can lead into other things.
Yeah, no, and I thank you for that.
No, you're welcome.
That's true. I didn't, you know, like I forget that, you know, when we do these things, we're, as artists and musicians, we're supporting each other.
That's right.
You know, and supporting each other and doing what we love and what we're put on this earth to do. And yes, money is a part of the equation.
Absolutely. So now, after you had done the crowdfunding, and it was definitely successful, and I mean that part was just amazing, and thank you again to everybody who obviously donated. Now,
Amazing.
you'd gone to Montreal to record the album as well, right? So can you tell us maybe a little bit about your experience in Montreal, as well as maybe what some of the next steps are that are coming up now that the album is recorded?
Wow. My time in Montreal was a dream come true. I wrote a vision back in January for the album, and it was completely, like, it totally showed up. I felt so supported by my fellow musicians, so loved. I was taken care of. I was able to show up authentically and, you know, really sing the shit out of the lyrics. Like, I was in such a comfortable place that I felt that, you know, problem that I can do this and really get grounded. And I mean, I just had, and I laughed and I cried and, you know, I just even thinking about it, like, what an incredible experience I had, and I'm so grateful for all my guys again in Montreal for being, and just the friends that I made too outside of the studio, and the connections, and, you know, and just the hangs, and I just, incredible.
Right, because it can't just be about just being in the studio the whole time. It is about those connections and relationships that you're making as well.
Outside the studio.
Absolutely.
You know, I've made a few good new friends out there as well. And just even one day, just having a day off and being able to just go over to my friend's house and sit by her pool and you know, play with her like little 3 or 4 year old daughter and just be was a huge part of the healing as well. Like it's like I needed that day to just have a down day and just, because I had so much been going on leading up to it. I lost my grandfather just before I went to Montreal, and so it's been like go, busy, get on plane. And then for that one day when I sat by the pool and did nothing, it was like, holy crap, like I needed this day.
Yeah, you can just take it in.
And
now.
so I had so much, I couldn't stop telling my girlfriend like how much gratitude. And all we did was she made me pancakes, well, her hubby made pancakes, and we just did nothing.
Right.
Yeah, and so for me that really helped continue on the process, because then the next day I went in and recorded the vocals.
Right on. Yeah, because it's a way to recharge yourself too, because you need to have the right energy to go into the booth and record and put the type of emotion into the words that you're saying, right? So if you're not healed inside, like you're saying, you're not able to make those emotional connections with people, right? Through your music. So
and I think it's kind of more of like a grounding, because I wanted to still be access all my emotions. I want to be able to tap into my grief. I needed to, you know, tap into lots of different things, but it was about coming from a place where it wasn't going to take me out. Right. So I could still channel all those feelings and feel them in my body, but also still put out the most beautiful, authentic performance.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. So I know, me and you've had some conversations over the last few months and stuff, and I know some of the things that you're up to and some of the things that you've done in the community and stuff. But what you know, could you maybe tell us again some of the things that you've done in the community, some of the things that you are doing, and maybe some of the things that you're planning to do in the future, you know, based on your vision and the album coming out and all that?
Well, I mean, for me, community, well, right now community is, you know, the listening room. The listening room YYC, which was my baby. I started in 2016, and I didn't even realize, like, I love this because I get all these little ha-ha moments down the line. But a girlfriend of mine, she's going to be an artist on the Dedicated to You series, and she said to me, Deanne, thank you so much for supporting me in this. And I realized, and my mom actually made a mention, because I was chatting with my friend and my parents, and my mom, she's like, yeah, well, Deanne has needed a lot of support, and then my friend's like, right, it's like a way of paying it forward,
right,
giving back. I'm like, that's right. I mean, this is why I do this,
of course, because
I'm giving back to the community, the musical community, and giving back to, you know, because I love my fellow artists, and it's creating that space for them to show up and be their authentic selves. And so that's going on right now.
And the nice thing is, because I know you live pretty close to Studio Bell here, which is a music, you know, just kind of like a music area where you are in, and you know, I know you used to hang out at the King Eddie back in the day, and you know, that was a very music place as well. And I mean, someone had to make that platform for you to perform, and now you've kind of gone out there and found a way to make your own platform for other artists to come in and also develop their skills and have a place to come in, because obviously, you know, for a while that King Eddie was maybe not the place for people to go. I think it's starting to come back up again.
Wow.
But I guess
that was more of like ground sort of drinking.
Okay, well, I was trying to make it sound good.
No, it's cool. But the vocal jazz jam that I host is really good too for young supporting young artists as well, and giving them a place to practice, because when I started out singing, there wasn't a lot of places for me, not because I'm not I don't accompany myself. I don't play guitar or ukulele or so I rely on somebody else to play. And so this gives a place for people to show up and sing with a pro band and, you know, practice their skills, and you know, that's important. And It's important because it's good for the soul, you know?
Right.
And I love it because people are courageous and get up on stage. And even though in front of a very supportive audience, and that means the world to me.
Right.
Because anybody that can sit there and critique or, you know, kind of be, critical of someone else, it's like, well, you get up there.
Absolutely, yeah, that's true.
Right? So, I mean, for me, it's a great place for people to practice being courageous, which is one of my things.
There's a quote, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get it wrong, but it pretty much goes something along the lines as those who say they can't do should not get in the ways of those who are, or something along
Right.
the line, right? So, you know, it's kind of a pay sediment to what you're saying.
Well, and
right?
I mean, for me, and I can only speak from my experience, but every time I get up on that stage, I'm completely vulnerable.
Yeah.
When I did the, I have my, I care, right? So every time I get up on, or even did the Stevie Wonder concert, I mean, there I was. I'm like, here are brand new arrangements, right? And there were things that went well, and there were things that didn't work out, and, I even stopped a song, because I was just like, we're going to try that again. And, and part of my little brain's like, oh, you're screwing up. And I'm like, nope, you gotta stop the monkeys. And it's like, it's okay. Because, I mean, I'm a coach, too, and I coach my clients, and I say, if you start a song, and it doesn't start off well, it's okay to stop. So I had to kind of, like, practice what I preach on that Stevie Wonder show, but I felt very vulnerable because it was brand new material.
Right.
And I got up there and I was nervous and I was just like, all right, just go, and invited the audience to be a part of this brand new experience as well. So they got to be a part of the debut of these new arrangements, which now we'll get to sit and play with, and I'm playing on other gigs now and tweaking, and it's great, it's exciting. And
right, it just gets better and better.
yeah,
the more you
absolutely.
do it, right?
The more I mean, that's like anything. So, but my quote, I get nervous before every performance because I care.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Perfect. It's well said.
Yes. That's a quote from Deanne Matley.
That's awesome. So I know a couple other things about you too. And I know you mentioned you have a grant as well that you have for, and you teach other students to kind of vocal training and stuff like that as well. What would you give for advice to somebody who's an up and coming artist or who wants to kind of make it in this industry? Is there any advice that you would give to somebody based on all the experience that you have had and all the different ups and downs that you've gone through?
Do the inner work. It's for me. It can be very challenging in a lot of ways, and if I'm not coming from a place of high self-esteem and confidence, and this isn't from like, and I'm not talking about false ego. I'm talking about grounding inside and being able to they say you got to have a thick skin to be in this business. Well, I think it's about actually just having that power within. It's not about having a thick skin. It's about, because I find sometimes if I was to pretend that I have this thick skin, then I'm not being real. That's not who I am, because I'm a heart person.
Right. And
my heart, gets broken easily. Like I'm a sensitive person. But because I've been able to really work on that deeper inner root stuff, I find out I just attract better things in general too. So that would be my main thing is working on that power within and creating healthy self-esteem.
Right.
Because it's not about being better than someone or not, it's just about, I want to be able to show up and be authentic as I can, because that's who my audience is going to connect with.
Right on. No, I love it, because it's you really you're challenging yourself every day, and your biggest competitor is yourself, right? You can't compete with anybody else, right? So.
Well, I don't want to really be in competition with myself, but when you said about advice, I mean, that's it.
Right on.
Is that real true grounding, and it took me a long time to kind of to get. I'm still working on it every day and evolving that part of who I am. And I'm very grateful because I have lots of amazing support around that.
Good.
But yeah, is get that stuff taken care of. You know, one of my tapes is I'm not good enough. So for me, that's the stuff that I have to recognize in myself, because when I'm in that place of low self-esteem, and that's when all of a sudden my I'm not good enough's come up, or you know, what am I not doing, and how come someone else is doing that, and you know, it's really about recognizing that as well, and being able to also support my journey and to support others' journeys.
Right. I think that's wonderful, and it's true, because if you don't work on yourself, you'll never be able to get out of yourself. Right?
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And so I want to be able to support my journey, of course, because it starts with me, but supporting others. If we all kind of as a community supported each other, you know, I think it would just be way easier.
Right.
You know,
and that's kind of the idea of the listening room as well, is to kind of show support for each other through a community, isn't it?
Yeah, because it is about, we're all getting up there on stage, we're all doing the same thing, we're just doing it differently.
Absolutely.
And as we want to be.
Yeah.
Right?
And you're doing it what's authentic to you,
well,
like you were saying again, right?
Yeah, you know, and everyone has their different take on things, and so it's not about comparison.
Right.
It's about appreciation.
Right. I like that.
Yeah. It's like, wow, you know, that artist that's really cool what they do there. And, you know, and, you know, going into these performances and watching other artists and really just grabbing onto what they're doing so beautifully.
Yeah, I really like what you're saying, because it's, you know, it's easy to go to any show and really, like you said, is saying, oh, that person's, their voice is not that great, or their stage presence was not wonderful, and you know, they kind of messed up, they tripped up their words, whatever it is. But it's really understanding, maybe, you know, taking a step outside of yourself, putting yourself in the other person's shoes, and having the ability to say, you know what, that person probably practiced that song 10 times or 100 times or 1,000 hours, or you know, and they're still getting over certain things, and is really trying to appreciate from their vantage point or their viewpoint on how they have progressed themselves, right? Because maybe they've gone through so much abuse in their life, and they've pushed themselves to go on stage to get outside of those boundaries that they've created for themselves, and it's to really see it and not judge the person for what they are. And now it's like, and it's so easy to say, that person's voice is no good, oh, that person can't sing. It's so easy to become the judge versus saying, that person's actually trying.
But you know why that's happening more and more now, though, is because of the television. Of the constant TV shows where every person's getting up there being vulnerable and courageous and being judged.
Right.
You know, or, you know, I mean, that stems, so now it becomes you know, and I don't know, I mean, I can't say I've never been critical, because that wouldn't be honest, right? I mean, you know, I'm just shifting it, so like, what can I appreciate about every artist that I see?
That's right.
But, you know, we get into this, you know, I've had people, you know, kind of, you know, start critiquing a show, and I said, actually, let's talk about what they did awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because that's what we learn from.
Yeah. You get better and better at what you did well at, and your mistakes will get fixed.
Yeah,
right?
but when you're also watching somebody else perform, my context is, what can I learn from them?
As well, yeah, that's a good way to
what
look at it.
What can I learn from them? What did they do that was so brilliant that I just want to, like, I'm inspired, right? And shifting that context, because if I'm coming from a place of, oh, well, they're constantly this or constantly that, or, you know, then I'm clearly not in a place of self-esteem.
No. And you're watching the performance from a different eye as well, right?
Yeah,
you're watching
filter.
it to learn something. You're enjoying the context of what you're seeing on stage, but you're also saying, how can I take that and make it my own, like you did with the Stevie Wonder, right? You know, you mentioned you saw it in France while you're out there.
Yeah,
and you said, I really like this.
I totally was,
How can I make this my own?
I mean, I was inspired, and then there was a little critical part of me that was like, because the two singers had the French accents,
right?
And so I had a little chuckle, because I'm like, well, you know, it was because I speak English, so.
Right.
And I kind of had a little bit of a critical moment about that, and then I was sharing that with my French peeps, and they're like, well, we don't know any different. I'm like, right.
That's it.
True enough. So there I was, still having a little critical moment, you know, even though I walked away completely inspired by that concert, etc. So, I mean, will never claim to be perfect and that I don't ever have any criticisms, but it's about awareness too.
Of course.
You know, because it's like, well, right, I was aware, and you know, I'm not going to beat myself up about it, and I'm actually talking about it, but it's like, you know, it did come up, so, and then I was kind of like held accountable for it. I'm like, yeah, okay, moving on. Okay, cool. Right. So, I mean, I just, you know, I think my intention is always to show up and appreciate.
Absolutely.
You know, but I'll never. I'm not a perfect person either, so.
Well, and that's the beauty of it, right? No one really is. And
No.
Kind of want to go to the next. So one thing I know is we've talked again for a little bit, and kind of, you know, you've done your album now because I loved, and now it's time to move forward in that process as well, right? So I know when we were chatting, you have kind of an idea of where you want to go. So would you maybe share what the plan for the next, you know, 12 months to 24 months is for yourself with the album, with the touring and all that kind of stuff, and maybe some of the other stuff that we haven't talked about?
Well, it's probably going to be a spring release. Well, it's going to be a spring release. I'm just trying to work out dates, actual specific release dates. And then I'm starting to craft a European summer tour, which is exciting. And then I'm continuing to, you know, share that album around the world. So I don't really know what that looks like today. But at the same time, I also have other little projects that are going on as well. So I'm going to be heading back in the studio in Calgary, probably the end of this month.
Okay.
Of November, yeah. And, you know, recording some specific stuff, not for an album, but more for singles. And so that for me is exciting because it's, you know, well, I recorded this album back in July because I loved, but it's, you know, it's going to almost be close to a year before it's released now. Like it's been such a process. So it's like, what do I do in between that still fulfills my heart, you know, in the creativity? Because that's, you know, like I said earlier, being creative is what I love about being a musician. And so I've got some things kind of coming down the pipe, but so yeah, it's kind of want to, you know, it's about doing the work now though, to get prepped for, you know, which is, it's a lot of work and it's great and it's fun work and it's exciting and yeah, I'm really excited for this album.
So, and the song that you're doing, from what we've talked about, is going to be an original song.
Yeah, but I'm not going to give away too much now.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's
so I guess we'll have
there'll be a few tunes, original tunes recorded.
Right on.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And that's a nice part too, right? I mean, you're people know you for, you know, doing other people's music, but not necessarily your own stuff. And you're kind of definitely venturing out there and now starting to put your own music together as well.
Yeah.
I know you've done that in the past, but now doing a little bit more of that because you've just had found different ways to want to connect to people. Looks like.
Yeah. Well, life experience has given me material to write about.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, I like I said earlier, I wrote quite a few tunes for this new album, and I also wrote lyrics for a friend of mine's tune.
Oh wow!
Yeah, right. And I was able to share from my own personal life experience the lyrics, and yeah. So the ones that we're going to go into the studio with, you know, are there's one tune specifically that's pretty personal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we won't get too deep into it. We'll just have to leave that as a surprise
Leave
for
that
everybody.
as a surprise for everybody. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I know one of the tunes, if I'm correct, is hopefully
don't give it away.
going to change the wedding industry.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I'll say that. I won't give it away.
Yeah.
But I can say that. So it's going to be kind of a neat song.
It's going to be a great song.
Yeah.
That's going to blow on some heartstrings.
Awesome. Now, so in your own words, what would you, or who would you say Deanne Matley is? Deanne Nicole Matley.
Deanne Nicole Matley. I'm a heart connector.
Okay.
Yeah. I have really strong core values, and I love people.
Okay.
And I love connection.
Okay. I think it shows. I mean,
Yeah.
everything you've said really shows through who you are, through what you say, not just what you say, but what you've done, through all the different things you do in the community, and all the different people you've connected with. And it kind of shows why, your campaign was also successful, because you live up to all the things that you say you are, because that's what people know you for being.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Sometimes I need to be reminded.
Just to listen to that on recording.
Yeah.
Just listen on repeat.
Yeah. I love deeply.
Okay.
I love deeply, and so I've had some pretty harsh heartbreak now,
Right.
but because of heartbreak, I've also realized that how deeply I do love,
Right.
and that's important, because I did a blog post about it actually. I'd rather have a few scars on my heart, but know that I actually showed up and loved that deep.
Wow.
Yeah, than to have
cool.
right? So, it's reality. It's everybody. I think can relate to heartbreak.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if no, that's not true, because I actually didn't know I could relate to heartbreak until I actually really experienced it, and that's when I went, oh, that's what this is all about, right? And I realized that I was avoiding heartbreak my whole life, because of how painful it was.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah. So I made decisions in my life avoiding heartbreak.
Right.
So I wasn't taking risks.
It's interesting you say that. I remember going through some experience back in the day, and I wanted to read a book just to see how I can get over this experience as well. And I never even finished the book. I read the first paragraph, and I didn't need to read anymore, because what it said was, in essence, if you knew the pain you would have felt today, you wouldn't have done what you
Exactly.
all the experience you just had, you wouldn't have gone through them.
Exactly.
And and most people, you're right, they just kind of don't want to go through that pain, and so don't want to go through that experience. Right, so they kind of shut themselves out of all the wonders that life can provide. So.
Yeah, and in the music community, for me, it's like little heartbreaks too, right?
Right.
Like, my 2 months being away, I had little heartbreaks, but they're not like devastating. Like my main big one that I recently had, but it was just like, but I was just like, I felt alive.
Right.
I felt alive knowing that I had my heart was breaking a little bit every once in a while, and it's like, wow, okay, like I'm starting to finally really show up. Right.
It's when your heart repairs is when you get stronger, right? So obviously you've gotten that strength as well.
Yeah.
And and it all says kind of in the title of the album as well, right? Because I loved, and because you loved, you had to go through a bunch of stuff, and because you came out the other side, you're a lot stronger, right? So.
Well, I'm still working through that side too.
That's fine.
Like it's grief is grief, and I thought maybe I could be done in a year.
Right.
I'm like,
timeline.
No, still happening. So, which is okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
So.
Well, that's a good thing to know, right? You don't need to have a timeline. It doesn't have to be a set amount of time. It doesn't have to be 365 days.
No.
It's however long it takes you, and certain things will take you a lot longer. And even if you find that you're over it today, 5 years from now, something will remind you or connect you to a past memory, and it's just saying, yeah, that's what it was, and you just kind of let it go and move forward through it, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting thing, right? So
it is, and it's great material to write about.
I think Taylor Swift has made lots of money off it, right? So
yeah.
So what is something you'd like to leave the listening audience with that we haven't covered about yourself? What is it that you would like to tell as maybe your final words?
Oh, wow. I think it's, I just have a lot of gratitude for all of you that are watching this. and gratitude for all the people that have supported me through so much, especially in the last year. And that I just did a recent meditation, and it was about the best time of my life is now, in this moment, and in every moment.
Right on.
And so that's what I'm striving
Yeah, that's excellent.
for right now, and one day at a time. But yeah, and I'm excited, because this journey has been beautiful, and it continues every day.
Right. It's interesting you say that. I know I read a lot. So the Dalai Lama was asked once, what was your most, what's your most inspiring moment? What's that moment that you can go back to and just say, this really changed my life? And he looked at the guy and said, thought about it for a second. He said, this moment right here.
Yeah.
This moment right here is the most inspiring moment.
Yep.
And he's saying it that for that reason, because he was in the present. He's not living in the past. He's not living in the future. Yeah. He's living with the person that he's sitting next to, and said, I'm going to enjoy this moment. And it doesn't matter if he found enlightenment or didn't, or, to tell you that moment that he did. But this moment that he's living in is enlightenment as well, right? So it's very awesome that way. So
yeah, it's a recent new find. So that's what I'm leaving with on the word. Is for me is being present in the moment, and sometimes it still can be challenging.
Right. Yeah, right? It's like that, yeah.
But it's still about, for me, courageously living the life I love every moment, no matter what's going on. Small world problems, as I like to say.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I just want to thank everybody again for spending 45 minutes. If you got through the whole interview, thank you for doing that. It really is a way to get to know Deanne and what she's doing in the community and what she's about, who she is, and some of the things that she's going to be doing, and definitely a great reason to stay tuned to and just continue watching what she is doing, because there's always something new coming down the pipeline. And like you said, there's some new music coming, there's a new album coming, there's some new projects coming. Yeah. So
the Christmas album.
The Christmas album is on YouTube right now. There's a lot of good stuff that people can really enjoy of yours. They can purchase a lot of your music as well from the past. So definitely any way that they can support you, that's awesome. And it'll be made available on your website, deannematley.com. So definitely go take a look at that. And I guess with that, we'll just finish this interview. And again, thank you for everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll see you guys.
Thank you.